Dr. Bandyopadhyay, I guess we can start.
Yes, I was going to say that it's already 6 past 10. So today's dear participants, first of all, good morning to all of you, and good morning to Dr. Abhik Kumar Mukherjee. He is the first resource person today. He will take the session on emotional finance, as you have seen in your schedule. Dr. Mukherjee is a very scholar resource person. He has done his graduation from St. Xavier's College and was, ranked third in the university merit list. He did Masters in Commerce from the University of Calcutta and placed second in the university merit list. He did MPhil, securing the highest aggregate, and PhD in Commerce from the same university, and then PGDBA in Finance from Symbiosis Pune. Dr. Mukherjee has authored 3 books in accounting and 1 book on entrepreneurship development for undergraduate programs, which have been recommended by various universities. He has published in various research articles in various journals and edited books. He has been invited as a resource person in different workshops, FDPs and MDPs, seminars, webinars. With this brief introduction, I invite Dr. Mukherjee to start the session. Over to you, Dr. Mukherjee.
Thank you, Dr. Bandyopadhyay. Now I have a strange feeling to get invited in your own backyard, but thank you for doing the same thing.
I should also mention one thing. He is also, as you all know, he is the coordinator of this FDP. That I just had to mention once more. All of you know.
Thank you, Dr. Bandyopadhyay, for your warm words. Now, without wasting much time, I am starting the screen presentation. Just confirm me, anybody just confirm me whether my screen is getting visible or not. It is getting presented from my end. Okay. So is the PowerPoint presentation visible?
No. Yeah. Now it's visible. Yes.
In full screen mode?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for the confirmation. So, good morning to everybody. Now we have reached almost the fag end. Today is the 5th day, and this is the penultimate session, after which we have one more session. So in this session, basically, I will be continuing from where I left on day 1. So in day 1, my responsibility was to discuss about the biases affecting financial decisions. And on day 1, I discussed about the first classification of financial biases, that is the cognitive biases. Today, I will continue and move to the second one, that is the emotional bias, and ultimately towards emotional finance. So just to recap from where we left, we discussed that standard finance, as we all know, stands on certain basic assumptions like perfectly rational decision making on the part of the market participants. It is based on the assumption that all information is available and all information is thoroughly and fully processed. That is 100% processing is done, which led to the concept of capital market efficiency. We discussed this, and we also stated that the standard finance presumes that or suggests how investors should ideally behave, and in that sense it is normative. But because certain deviations were observed between the suggested normative behavior and the actual behavior of the market participants, that gap basically questioned and led to the development of what we know as behavioral finance. Now, in the last class, I also touched upon that this addressing this gap basically resulted in the identification of 3 things which are referred to as technically the themes of behavioral finance, they being heuristics, framing, and biases, which we vividly discussed. And from here, the relationship amongst these things that emerged was that heuristics can be applied basically by the participants, financial market participants, in their decision making, and they get affected by framing, which result in them committing the biases or exhibiting the biases. And then we saw what biases are. Simply stated, biases are nothing but the errors or the mistakes which are committed by the market participants and which result in suboptimal decision. Why is bias something which is pricking us? Because it does not lead, or rather it prevents us from reaching the optimal decision making position. So bias need to be addressed, need to be modified, need to be adapted, because they lead to suboptimal decision making. Then we discussed that as per the experts, as per the proponents, biases have been broadly classified into two categories, the cognitive and the emotional biases, based on what is the source of the bias. So on the basis of the source of the bias, biases are classified into cognitive and emotional biases. What are the cognitive biases? The biases which are related to thinking of the participants, that is how people think. It is related to the information, the processing of the information, the memory and the reasoning. Those are cognitive biases, and we discussed vividly the two broad types of cognitive biases and individual cognitive biases with some practical situations. Today we start with the emotional biases. So before we move into emotional biases, let me just highlight what do we technically mean by the term emotion and what are its types. Look over here, even after so many years of research in various domains, the term emotion has no single universally accepted definition. Okay? But it can be understood as a mental state that arises spontaneously. It is something which we say, I am having a mood swing, I am not feeling well today, mentally well today. So it is a mental state of mind which arises spontaneously rather than through conscious effort. We need not have to think about it. Okay? Our surrounding environment affects our emotions. And the experts have identified two types of emotions, the positive emotions and negative emotions. Those emotions which lead to optimism and provide us the impetus to act, okay, and ultimately lead to a greater willingness to assume risk, are the positive emotions. So emotions which force us to do, not force, which actually lead us to optimism and help us to act in some way, provides the impetus to act in some way, are the positive emotions. On the contrary, those emotions which lead to pessimism and result in inaction, paralysis of activities, okay, are the negative emotions, and they basically depress the willingness to take risk. We do not take risk. We do not prefer to take risk in such scenarios when we affect from negative emotions. Now participants, if you can be a bit vocal and tell me which one do you experience more. If you can type in the chat box, which one do you experience more, the positive emotions or the negative emotions? I'm just waiting for your responses in the chat box. Negative, positive, positive, positive. Okay, negative, positive. Good. So I've got a few responses. Depends on the situation. That's correct. That's correct. But usually what we see, that we get a mix of positive and negative emotions. I can come to that conclusion, isn't it? Okay. So from here, after understanding what emotions are, that they are nothing but mental state which arises spontaneously, and it can be either positive or negative. Now we are in a position to start discussion on emotional biases. Now, what are emotional biases? Just like biases are errors or mistakes, emotional bias is also an it's a distortion. Okay? In what? Decision making, perception, which is caused by emotional factors. And such biases originate from impulse or intuition and not from our conscious calculations, because the biases which originate from conscious calculation happen to be the cognitive biases, and those which arise from impulse or intuition are the emotional biases. Okay? And because they come from impulse and intuition, they are tough to be corrected. They can be, it is as compared to cognitive biases, they are a challenge to stand corrected. So when we got introduced to emotional bias, now let us just understand the difference between the cognitive and the emotional biases in brief. We must accept this fact that both cognition and emotion jointly drive all decisions. Financial decisions to hai hi, rather all decisions are driven by cognition and emotion. Rather they play a complementary role in understanding our behavior. Okay? The cognitive biases are associated with thinking and thoughts, as I have told you, memory, reasoning, information, thinking about all these things. From here, jahan garbar kuch ho jata hai, if we commit any mistake in this field, those lead to cognitive biases. Whereas by definition, emotional biases originate from the emotions and feelings. And as I said just some time back, that emotional biases are something which are harder to correct as compared to the cognitive ones. Why? Because they originate from the impulse or intuition. ठीक है, अंदर से आता है, ये बाहर से कोई बताने से I cannot change it. You can teach me mathematics, if I understand the calculation, if I understand log, if I understand trigonometry, I can apply that. But in order to change myself from within, from being an introvert to an extrovert, requires much longer duration training, much harder and intense training. So if you have something on the motherboard, that is difficult to change. Okay? External disks can be changed. So it is something like that. So as compared to, and another difference is that as compared to cognitive biases, there are fewer number of emotional biases. Why? Because the emotions are rarely identified and they get recorded in the decision making process. That is rare. ठीक है? फिर क्यों सर, क्यों rare? Because ये अंदर का बात है. ठीक है, उतना easily float करके ऊपर नहीं निकलता है. ठीक है, it's an abstract thing. So even though the effects of cognitive and emotional biases are similar, that is, they stop us from arriving at optimal decision, that is, they result in suboptimal decision making, finding a solution to the emotional bias often requires greater care. ठीक है? Because as I said, they are ingrained in an individual's psyche. So from here, we must always be careful that all of us suffer from some sort of, or end up exhibiting some emotional as well as cognitive biases, be as financial decision makers, be as non-financial decision makers. In our daily life also, all the decisions that we take in our workplace, in our family life, with our friends and alumni, everywhere, we are coming across these biases. We are facing these biases, but within this, we should be extra cautious about the emotional biases, because as I said, वो अंदर का चीज है मेरे. Okay, now till now the researchers have named or identified these 6 emotional biases, which we will understand one by one. Okay, so again, like as I said in the preceding class, let us have a look at few practical situations first and then understand and then relate rather. Okay, first is, say last year one Mr. Nagamurthy invested rupees 1 lakh in shares of A company and another 1 lakh in shares of X company. Okay, so last year he invested rupees 2 lakhs in these two and created this portfolio. He observed that A company's shares has risen to the investment in A company has risen to 1,80,000, while one in X company, sorry, that's a typo, X company has fallen to rupees 16,000. So you can understand there is a rise in 80% in the first case, whereas a massive drop in the second case. What he did, he immediately disposed of the shares of A company to book 80% profit, which he has earned, but retained the shares of B company, expecting them to recover. Okay? Now, you people just tell me, how many of you would have done what Mr. Nagamurthy did? Just type in the chat box. That how many of you have gone with Mr. Nagamurthy? Yes will mean you support the decision, and no will mean you don't support the decision. Acha, Dr. Dasgupta is saying not me. Others, please respond. No, no. Okay. So most of the responses are no. Acha, Mr. Dr. Dasgupta is saying I support the decision. Okay, but many others are saying no. Okay, okay, okay. So it's a mixed thing which I'm getting from you. Okay, so this is something which you will accept, that which we believe, which we observe happening in the real world. जो कुछ अच्छा चल रहा है, I see this regularly in the KBC program. ठीक है, जब कुछ अच्छा चल रहा है तब अरे बाप रे, let's play safe. ठीक है, this kind of a behavior which Mr. Nagamurthy is exhibiting has been named by the experts as loss aversion bias. ठीक है, what is this? Look, it is the tendency. ये क्या है? ये जो phenomena हम लोग यहाँ observe किए, ठीक है, क्या कर रहा है? The profitable ones, which in a single technical word we can say the winner, that is the stock of A company, and X company stock was a loser. The winner was disposed of to book the profit, so that it's the fear of missing out, FOMO, of the loss. Whereas जहां हम लोग in the red में है, when we are below par, we show our patience. This effect is basically called the disposition effect. ठीक है, that is holding on to losers and disposing of the winners too quickly. This particular phenomena which all of us at some point of time or the other show is referred to as the disposition effect. And this disposition effect is nothing but the practical reflection of this loss aversion bias, which is the tendency to feel more pain from a loss than the pleasure from an equal gain. Okay? Now look at the bullet, third last bullet from the end. It says that a hurt of a loss of ₹100 is more than a satisfaction from a gain of ₹100. Okay? You will see if somebody gives you, say on a birthday or anything, a cash of ₹100, okay, you will say, "Arey, sirf 100 de raha hai." But if you lose ₹100, it will pinch you more. Okay? So we can come to the conclusion that losses are significantly powerful than gains. When the amount of the absolute amount is the same, in that case, the losses are more powerful. Losing money is more powerful as compared to gaining money. This phenomena was identified by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky in the year 1979 when they were working on the development of the prospect theory, which we have not discussed here, but anybody teaching behavioral finance or who will be teaching behavioral finance in the future will be aware of this. So it is also observed in the financial market. The financial market participants, it has been observed in the research studies, they accept more risk when faced with losses, okay, than to achieve a gain. In a gain situation, they always try to play safe, book the profit because of the fear of missing out. Okay? So this bias leads people to hold on to their losers, even if the investment have little chance or no chance of going up. Okay? And they avoid the risk when evaluating potential gains. So we say that we become risk lover when we are dealing with losers, and we basically are risk averse when we are dealing with winners. Okay? Because whenever the winners are with us, we have a tendency to realize the gain as soon as possible, okay, to avoid any further risk. This is a kind of behavior which has been observed by us. This has been named by Kahneman and Tversky as loss aversion bias. I hope it is clear up to this. So I am moving to the next type of emotional bias. So the first is loss aversion bias. Some practical situations. Okay, you ask a person, okay, who drives his or her car or rides her or his two-wheeler about their driving skills. You ask anybody, just check it. Most people will say that I am better than the average. Baki sab kaise chala raha hai? Even I do that. Okay? So what we do, we always blame the driver who is beside me. Dekho ye bus kaise mujhe chap raha hai. Okay? I don't think that what I am doing. Okay? So we always presume we are the best. Even in the group, the teachers, very many teachers are there. Even I do suffer from the same bias. Don't I think that I am, whatever I am teaching, that is the best possible in this scenario? Yeah, please do. Okay? Another example, Miss Batra, who have decided to invest rupees 10 lakhs in the shares of N Limited, and she thinks it is a good investment. So she is confident, she is so confident and certain that of the company's future high return generating capability, that she has become blind to the prospect of a loss. So Ms. Batra did some study, some analysis, or listened to something, invested 10 lakhs in N Limited, but uske baad become blind. ठीक है? Here the bias which they are showing has been named as overconfidence bias. ठीक है? So what is this? Look, in the preceding example, as drivers or riders, we were overconfident. And in the second case, as investors also, it has been observed. Not everybody. Some are overconfident. Again, you may be overconfident towards the beginning of your investment life. But later on, you may have, after committing some mistake, and if somebody has identified it to you, or you have yourself understood it, you may not remain overconfident. But कुछ ना कुछ bias कभी ना कभी हम लोगों में रह जाता है. That has been observed. हम लोगों में मतलब the financial market participants. So what is this? In this case, people demonstrate unwarranted faith. जितना ना चाहिए उससे ज़्यादा faith on their own intuitive reasoning, judgment, and or cognitive abilities. ठीक है? That emotional state कि मुझे जो मालूम है वही ठीक है. ठीक है? So it results from the overestimation of knowledge levels, abilities, and access to information. ठीक है? Overconfidence bias has aspects of both cognitive and emotional errors, but it is classified as emotional because it is more tilted towards that. It is primarily the result of an emotion. ठीक है? So this but because it is emotional, as I have told you, ये अंदर का बात है. This bias can hardly be overcome, as it is difficult for people to revise self-perceptions of their knowledge and abilities. Unless एक बार अंदर से हिला दे पूरा, ठीक है, ऐसे कुछ हो जाता है कि पूरा हिल जाता है लाइफ, then this bias at times it is seen has been overcome. ठीक है? And this bias stems from two types of overconfidence rooted in the illusion of knowledge. They are called the certainty overconfidence and the prediction overconfidence. The meaning is interesting. Just have a look. What is certainty overconfidence? It is the one which occurs when the probabilities that you assign to the outcomes are too high because you are too certain of their judgments. When you are certain कि ये होने वाला है, and you show that you are certain that a company's stock will, after IPO, will rise, or after a particular dividend announcement, its value will rise, or say a company will be going for an IPO in the near future. If you are certain about these things and you behave in an overconfident way, that is called certainty overconfidence. And what is prediction overconfidence? That occurs. Achha, it is defined in some little statistical term. It is said that prediction overconfidence occurs when confidence intervals that individuals assign to their investment predictions are too narrow. So my prediction is not very wide, is not very dispersed. The confidence intervals are very narrow. In that case, I will say that I am suffering from prediction overconfidence. Just to give you an example of a student, if a student says that I will get between 78 and 80, and another student says I will get something between 65 and 80. So the confidence interval, if it is narrow, we look at it as prediction overconfidence. I hope up to now it is clear. In the chat box, is it clear up to this point of time? Can I proceed further?
Excuse me, sir. Please explain once more the last point, the two types of overconfidence bias.
Madam, is the screen visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, look at the last two bullets. ठीक है? When the overconfidence, जब ये आप ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट बन जाते हो, ये जानते हुए, अगर आप जानते हो कि क्या होने वाला है, आप सोचते हो कि आप जानते हो क्या होने वाला है, you know the outcomes. If you are confident of the outcomes, it is certainty over confidence. ठीक है? And जब कितना गैप में होने वाला है, as I said, you know for certain that exam will be held or colleges will be opening or universities will be opening. More or less you are overconfident of the outcomes. When you are talking to your colleagues, you are saying नवंबर में खुल जाएगा, इसके बाद लॉकडाउन के बाद नवंबर से होने वाला है. आउटकम के बारे में आप ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस दिखा रहे हो, दैट इज सर्टेनिटी ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस. अब आप बता रहे हो मुझे लग रहा है 5 से 10 तारीख के अंदर नवंबर का यूनिवर्सिटीज एंड कॉलेजेस एंड अदर इंस्टीट्यूट्स विल ओपन. and physical classes will begin. That is prediction overconfidence. Could I communicate? ठीक है. और अगर कोई बताए 1 से 30 तारीख के अंदर हो जाएगा, उसका प्रेडिक्शन ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस कम है. दैट इज नॉट दैट मच ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट. ठीक है. ओके. Now we come to another practical case. This is the story of most of us, the Indians. ठीक है. Mr. Singh, a foodie, is suffering from obesity. He is aware of the situation and has established fitness and health related goals as his New Year resolutions, but only to fail yet again. ये तो हम लोगों की उम्र का बात कर रहे हैं. स्टूडेंट लोग क्या, आई ऑलवेज से इन द क्लास, जब एक नया कोर्स शुरू होता है, ठीक है, इस बार से आई वोंट कमिट दैट मिस्टेक. पहले दिन क्लास में सब कुछ कॉपी ओपन करके पेजेस लेके दे नोट एवरीथिंग एज इफ दे विल टर्न दिस अर्थ पढ़ाई करके. बट अगेन आफ्टर अ फ्यू डेज दे गो बैक टू स्क्वायर वन. आई एम सेइंग फॉर मेजॉरिटी. So they make resolutions towards the beginning of a program that this time I won't commit the mistake which I committed in the preceding semester or preceding class. But it has been seen that even as students, if we are honest, we have failed. Why this happens? The short-term satisfaction in this case of eating conflicts with the long-term goal of good health. Okay? Here, the bias that is exhibited by Mr. Singh is self-control bias. Rational brain बता रहा है कि मुझे self-control करना चाहिए, but we commit the error or the mistake. ठीक है? This is the अंदर से आता है. It is also an emotional bias called the self-control bias. In this, people fail to act in pursuit of their long-term goal or overarching goals. ठीक है? We have long-term goals. We are aware of the long-term goals, but we fail to act for that because of lack of self-discipline, which comes from lack of self-control. Okay? It has been observed there is an inherent conflict between the short-term satisfaction and the achievement of long-term goals. एक मिठाई के दुकान के सामने जाते I lose my control honestly. ठीक है, आज तो कर लूं, कल देखा जाएगा, कल सुबह से एक्सरसाइज कर लूंगा. आज सुबह क्या लगा, आज मेरा प्रेजेंटेशन है, आज तो नहीं होगा. लास्ट 5 दिन से क्या लग रहा है, आई एम द कोऑर्डिनेटर, मेरे से नहीं होगा. सो फॉर दैट शॉर्ट टर्म सेटिस्फैक्शन आई एक्चुअली अफेक्ट माय लॉन्ग टर्म गोल्स नोइंगली. दैट इज वेयर इट इज द बायस. सो रैशनल बिहेवियर वुड सजेस्ट दैट पीपल वुड डू व्हाटएवर इट इज नेसेसरी टू अचीव लॉन्ग टर्म गोल्स. यस, बट इट डज नॉट हैपन. ठीक है, व्हाई? Because we, the humans, have a tendency to prefer small payoffs, present small payoffs, the small payoffs which we get now as compared to larger payoffs in the future. ठीक है, तो ये होता नहीं है. हाँ, when we require greater payoffs in the future. एक बार कोई डायबिटिक बन जाए तब मॉर्निंग वॉक शुरू कर देता है, तब खाना कंट्रोल करना शुरू कर देता है, बिकॉज तब जीने का और मरने का बात हो जाता है. So when the payoff by controlling something in the short run is larger, that is either living or getting paralyzed or dead, then we actually focus on the control the short-term satisfactions, I would say. Okay? People seem to have temporal short-sightedness or temporal myopia, that is focusing on the present and discounting the future. This emotional behavior can lead to high short-term utility and disastrous long-term utility. This is the reason why we can see a product like SI or the investment avenue like SIPs, systematic investment plans, have been introduced, because हम लोग अपने सैलरी से, बिजनेस इनकम से, प्रोफेशनल इनकम से जो आता है, we do not invest in lump sum. ठीक है, एक lump sum आए, we would prefer a vacation rather than investing, because we think कि कौन जिएगा इतने साल, I don't know. So, but we all being finance professors or finance professionals, we know that the long-term goal is a must. ठीक है, and here comes those advertisements. खेल के बीच में, movies के बीच में, कहीं भी देखो, in the metro, in the buses, on the streets, we come across mutual fund सही है, advertisements and all these kind of stuff. ठीक है, वो हम लोगों को nudge करते जाता है. ठीक है, back of the mind को और भी bright करते जाता है, boost करते जाता है. Is it clear? So it is basically boosting the memory, the RAM of our supercomputers. ठीक है. Now I move to the next emotional bias and the related practical situation. What it says: Mr. Kishore, Mrs. Kishore, I'm sorry, who joined her first job in the year 1995 at the age of 25 years, made certain investments early in her career. Perhaps her father or mother or say elder sibling inspired her and she made some investments, but thereafter she has not changed her investment portfolio. Say shuru mein she took a life insurance, she took a term insurance, did some FDs and all this stuff, but उसी में रह चुके हैं, portfolio को change नहीं किया. ठीक है, we say lazy है, नहीं कर रहा है. People say अरे समझ में नहीं आता है finance उतना. ठीक है, अरे कौन करेगा, टाइम नहीं मिल रहा है, इतना मेरा प्रेशर है, वर्क प्रेशर है, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. वी गिव दिस काइंड ऑफ एक्सक्यूजेस इन स्पाइट ऑफ नोइंग कि कुछ गड़बड़ हो रहा है. ठीक है. Another example, one Mr. Das working in an IT MNC has received employee stock option plan from the company over the years, which is very popular in the MNCs, especially in the IT sector. He hardly makes any further investments, thinking that his company's ESOPs are enough, and thus leading to over concentration. So portfolio fear becomes over concentrated with regard to one company's or one industry's this. It is not a diversified one. These biases, here the biases which are getting exhibited is called the status quo bias, which is very, very popular amongst us. Status quo matlab, jo chal raha hai chalne do. ठीक है? We are resistant to change. ठीक है? We teach the students, that is, we call them barriers to change. ठीक है? But we also suffer from this bias. This bias is an emotional bias in which people do nothing. ठीक है? When also change is required, we do nothing. ठीक है? It is the tendency of individuals to prefer things to remain the same. Sir, who shows this kind of bias? Those people who generally are more comfortable with keeping things the same. Okay? They suffer from this kind of bias and thus do not necessarily look for opportunities to take the change. Okay? Given no apparent problem, the status quo is maintained. जैसे चल रहा है, सुबह ऑफिस जा रहा है, शाम को आ रहा है, सुबह कॉलेज यूनिवर्सिटी जा रहा है, शाम को आ रहा है, क्या दरकार है चेंज करने का, चलो चल रहा है. ठीक है? This is it. These individuals continue with their original decisions out of inertia. I say inertia of rest. ठीक है? They are comfort in the investment terminology. I would say that they are comfortable with their existing allocation, and this leads to unwillingness to change. ठीक है? So people who are ambitious, they are basically not comfortable with the portfolio of whatever life's portfolio which is given to them, and they actually do not suffer from status quo bias. As investors, we should be aware of this. Okay? I hope it is clear up to this. So I come to another set of practical situations.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, sir. I have a question. Can I ask now?
Yeah.
Sir, in case of status quo bias, sir, do you think that it depends upon the, the income of that individual to some extent? Because when someone is a high net worth individual, so he or she is not much reluctant about what the changes is happening.
I have understood your question. If I may address it like this, you consider people within the same income level. Within that also, say for example, take the example of associate professors. More or less in India, all of them have the same income level. Okay? There is definitely some difference between central university and state university. Ignore that. But more or less, they are of the same income level or middle level managers. But do all of them have the same portfolio? The answer is no. Okay? I would like to give, apart from investment, I would like to give you an example, taking it from your own backyard, the colleges, the universities. Okay? How many of us are always eager to take our programs forward, offer new certificate courses, change the curriculum when we are not being forced by AICTE or NAC or some other regulatory authority or for an IRF ranking? Okay? You will find some institutions, it is the habit in them, okay, to go for change. And for many of us, okay, entities, for many entities, the habit is not to change. So given the same platform, it is that. But now what you are saying, yes, definitely people who do not have enough resources, for them it is not a bias because it is for them the survival. Okay? If I do not have much money, and I say, for example, just have for lunch and dinner a little bit of rice or roti with dal, that is lentil soup, okay? Then that is not a status quo bias for me. I don't have the option to afford anything more. But if I have money, but each and every day because of my, what should I say, laziness or mental block, I cook the same meal and take the same thing every day, that is where status quo bias sets in. Could I communicate?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you compare at the same level and then come to the conclusion whether somebody is suffering from status quo bias or not. Okay? Don't compare a rural private school with a central university, for example. Okay? Compare between two central universities' performance and try to identify which is suffering from status quo bias. A rural school in the, say for example, वो न्यूटन मूवी में जो स्कूल दिखाया गया था, ठीक है, जहां वो लोग गए थे, वो अगर चेंज नहीं हो रहा है, वो तो सर्वाइव ही कर रहा है, यही बहुत बड़ा बात है जंगल के अंदर. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ठीक है.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I'm proceeding. So I take some other practical examples. Okay, one Mr. Mahapatra, an NRI, so non-resident Indian, but presently resident of Australia. Okay, must have got the citizenship card over there. Inherited some real assets in his native village, which he refuses to sell, even though it is inappropriate for his risk tolerance level. ये टेक्निकल टर्म को मैं स्प्लिट करके बता रहा हूँ. रिस्क टॉलरेंस लेवल मतलब given his financial position, living in Australia, given the fact that perhaps his daughter and son are born in Australia, they are Australian citizens, and there is almost no chance of them being returning ever. ठीक है, ये situation रहते हुए भी he is not selling some of the real estate which he has inherited from his forefathers in his native village. This is a very common practice which we have seen. Achha, Mr. Yadav, being a life member of Cricket Association of Bengal, has a ticket of a T20 Cricket World Cup final match between India and Australia to be held at Eden Gardens, Kolkata. I'm just giving an hypothetical example. ठीक है? So Eden Gardens, the cricket, world famous cricket stadium, उसमें India Australia T20 World Cup final होने वाला है, and Cricket Association of Bengal का member होते हुए Mr. Yadav has some tickets which he got voluntarily because he is a life member. Now he wants one more ticket to take his son with him, and he is ready to pay a maximum of rupees 2,000 for it. But when he is thinking that, so तुम्हें क्या लगेगा, आप लोगों को क्या लगेगा that in his mind the value of each ticket of that final is 2,000. But when somebody asked him, sir, will you sell the ticket because it's in huge demand, he, the one which he is holding, he asks 25,000 for that. ठीक है, so क्या हो रहा है, जब खरीदने जा रहा है he is asking 2,000, he is ready to pay maximum 2,000, marginal utility is equivalent to 2,000, but when he is asked to let his possession off, he is charging much more than that. ये भी हम लोग witness करते हैं. This kind of a bias is technically referred to as endowment bias. Now what is it? It is an emotional bias, अंदर से आ रहा है, in which individuals value an asset more when they hold rights or they possess an asset as compared to when they do not. So when Mr. Yadav didn't hold the ticket, he is ready to, for the ticket which he is not possessing, he is ready to pay 2,000. But one which he is possessing, he is ready to get, he wants 25,000. So that is endowment bias, and effectively the ownership endows the asset with asset value, added value. So extra जो 23,000 value उसमें आ रहा है in this example, that comes from the ownership. ठीक है? It occurs when an individual holds on to or overvalue an asset because it is special. Why special? Simply because they own it. ठीक है? That real estate वाला example will give you this. कि वो sell नहीं कर रहा है psychologically. ठीक है? कि ये मेरे पास बहुत valuable है. ठीक है? It can affect attitude towards items owned for long periods of time, that like that real estate, or even for items that are immediately acquired or held, like that cricket match ticket case. So endowment effect ऐसे नहीं कि हम लोग ये long term assets जो own करते हैं उसी में reflected होता है. Even in that ticket वाला example also, I guess many of you will accept to that we show this kind of a tendency. ठीक है? Endowment bias is inconsistent with standard economic theory, which asserts that a rational person, that the price a rational person is willing to pay for a good should be equal to the price that a rational person would be willing to sell the same good. standard finance, standard economic theory would have said something like this, but this is not basically what we see. So that is why this is a bias, and this has been identified as endowment bias. Okay. Now I come to the final type of emotional bias. Okay. An example, few examples. Mr. Rajput sold the stock of, now look, this is a very interesting situation. Just focus a bit. Mr. Rajput sold the stock of P Limited and then watched it double in price. ठीक है, बहुत बार हो जाता है. ठीक है, कुछ हम लोग बेच दिए, फिर देखते हैं उसका प्राइस बढ़ रहा है. In another case, Mrs. Sen considered selling the stock of Q Limited, but somehow decided to keep it, and then watched its price plummet. पूरा प्राइस फॉल कर गया. ठीक है, so दोनों में he or she will suffer, and this bias is called regret, or it leads to, rather I would say, regret aversion bias, but it needs some understanding. Let's see. देखो, both of them must have regretted their decision, but the type of regret is different. In the case of Mr. Rajput, he regretted कि क्यों मैं ये बेच दिया, मैं क्यों कर डाला ये काम, मुझे थोड़ा पेशेंस रखना था, चुपचाप बैठना था. Whereas Mrs. Sen will regret, why was I proactive? I should have been patient. So दोनों regret कर रहा है, but दोनों का regret different काम के लिए है. So the first case is called the regret of commission. Mr. Rajput committed an act and he is regretting, and Mrs. Sen's regret is the regret of omission, that is, she omitted from doing what should have been done. Now, studies have shown on the basis of feedbacks that regret of commission is stronger than regret of omission. ठीक है, क्योंकि मुझे जो लगता है ये, why is it so? Because आप बताओगे मैं किया भी फिर सफर कर रहा हूं, वो बताएगा तू कुछ नहीं किया इसीलिए तू सफर कर रहा है. सो करके सफर करने का जो पेन है, that regret is more. Studies from the participants, from the respondents have led to this conclusion. ठीक है, and avoiding regret of commission. So आप बताइए regret of commission avoid करना चाहिए कि regret of omission avoid करना चाहिए? Just type, all of you, which one you suggest to be avoided, the regret of omission or regret of commission? Just type a O and a C in the chat box. Just type a O or a C. O for omission and C for commission. Okay, I'm getting few C's, then a few O's, again a few C's. Okay, so I am getting a mixed result from you people, but when the sample size, that is why it is said research mein sample size bada hona chahiye. If I increase the sample size, I will find, it has been observed by the studies, okay, that regret of commission is stronger. बताएगा मैं काम किया फिर भी regret कर रहा हूँ इसीलिए. ठीक है, so ideally which one I should avoid first amongst these two? It should be logically regret of commission. So avoiding regret of commission मतलब काम मत करो, leads to doing nothing. Clear? So this leads to regret aversion bias, this doing nothing. So as I say, the former is stronger than the latter, and avoiding regret of commission leads to doing nothing. So when an individual takes this avoidance too far and let affect her or his ability to make good decisions, it is called regret aversion bias. So specifically, what is this bias? It is that emotional bias in which people tend to avoid making decisions. They fear that the result of their action will turn out poorly. ठीक है, अच्छा, in many cases we do not write research papers, that doesn't get published. We write research papers, it get rejected. As a result of which we do not write, because करके भी reject होगा, नहीं करूंगा. ठीक है, ये जो mental हम लोगों का tendency है, ठीक है, avoid making decisions. So we turn out to avoid, so that the results do with the fear that the results will turn out poorly. ये जो bias है हम लोगों का, that is regret aversion bias. So basically it leads us to a status quo situation. We can say this leads us to doing nothing. And do you think most of us do nothing or most of us do anything? What will you say? Do nothing or do something? Most of us, most of the Indians. Constructively, do most of us strive to write research papers? So I'm getting the response, do nothing in most cases. Most of us do that. So basically we are suffering from this regret aversion bias. And this leads to, look at the last bullet, herding behavior. Your influence, my influence, taken together, entire group of professors in India are not going into in-depth scientific research. Okay, if I may be allowed to say so, on the basis of these few responses. Okay, so that's just an example. So herding behavior, which can be seen among many investors, result from this bias. Okay, so this leads us to the end of the emotional biases which we commit. Now I come to the second part of my discussion, emotional finance. Okay, what is it? This is nothing but an extension of the domain of behavioral finance. During the early years of development of behavioral finance, the primary focus was on the cognitive biases. Then additional importance was placed on the emotional and socio-cultural influences. Okay? This gradually, the focus on emotion and the, what should I say, multidisciplinary studies of finance and psychology led to the development of this branch, I would say, called emotional finance, which is specifically an extension of behavioral finance. Now, sir, where does it focus on? Its primary focus is on unconscious emotion. अगर conscious हो जाए तो cognitive बन गया, ठीक है? So unconscious emotion आपका जो है उस वो decision making को affect कर रहा है कि नहीं? That was the research question that led to, and when they found that yes, it affects, that led to emotional finance, development of emotional finance. It is still growing on. Okay? So emotional finance explored the role of unconscious processes in driving financial decisions and market behaviors. So what does this emotional finance theory say? The theory says that feelings experienced by any individual can be categorized into two types, pleasurable and unpleasurable. आप लोग देखना सब कुछ में आपका एक positive, एक negative आता है, ठीक है? Similarly, any investment does not only mean investment in company stocks or mutual fund units or this. Investment can be real estate, investment can be personal investments like purchasing a car, a flat, a house, a land, okay? Even a high-end handset or any other gadget which you dreamt of, okay, can be investment. So I have a broader frame of mind. So any investment decision results in dual feelings, excitement as well as anxiety. The excitement arises from the anticipated future gains or benefits, while the anxiety is caused from the probability of occurrence of potential future losses. So let me give you an example. Say if you go to a mall and visit an iPhone, say a Apple store, and end up buying a iPhone being emotionally very positive or emotionally high. Okay? So you get the excitement. Yes, I have become an iPhone owner. But immediately when you recall कि उसका पूरा payment आपका credit card से किया गया है, and within the next 30 days time when the bill cycle ends, ठीक है, you will have to bear that, and anxiety crops in. ठीक है, ये सबका होता है हम लोगों में, ठीक है, and this is what basically the credit cards have trapped, ठीक है. So investors in financial markets thus and also in financial markets also face an emotional conflict. One side of the coin is excitement, the other side of the coin is anxiety. And this is called a state of ambivalence. That is simultaneous existence of opposite feelings, okay, of excitement and anxiety. This is what emotional finance theory says कि ऐसे होता है. And to deal with such unconscious conflict, we need to learn to build defense strategies or avoidance strategies. So अगर इससे हम लोग कॉन्शियस हो जाते हैं कि हाँ ये दो होने वाला है, दिमाग में हैमरिंग करते हैं, slowly but steadily we will start up building defense strategies and avoidance strategies, and these strategies are nothing but simply happen to be easy ways of escaping potential unpleasurable thoughts. ठीक है, ये potential unpleasurable thoughts, that anxiety जहां से आ रहा है उससे कैसे escape हम लोग करें. Say for example, I will create a SIP beforehand कि क्रेडिट कार्ड बिल आए तो उससे पे कर दूंगा. मैं 1000 का एक SIP कुछ 2-3 साल से कर रहा हूं, उससे लमसम पैसा बन गया, ठीक है. नाउ आई एम रेडी, तो ठीक है, अगर मैं क्रेडिट कार्ड यूज भी किया तो मेजर चंक विल कम फ्रॉम एनकैशिंग दैट SIP. ठीक है. सो वैसे स्ट्रेटेजी हम लोगों को पहले अगर बिल्ड अप करके देन वी गो फॉर डिसीजन मेकिंग and get into an ambivalent situation, then we have a different strategy to fall back on. This is what emotional finance is, that you play with your emotion beforehand to avoid committing the biases, the mistakes of investments. Okay? Now, to get into the domain of emotional finance, we need to be aware of few technical terminologies which I have named as the building blocks, and there are 4 such building blocks. They are fantasies, fantastic objects, certain states of mind, and a concept called basic assumption group. Now let us discuss that. The first building block called fantasies. What are fantasies? Focus over here, everybody. It is not the fantasy with a F, it is a fantasy with a PH, but with the same pronunciation. The term fantasy with the F is used in relation to conscious events. Okay. Whereas psychoanalysts refer to the fantasies with a PH to the unconscious events. So fantasies relate to our unconscious events. They are the building blocks, happen to be the building blocks of unconscious mental life. ठीक है, जो सब हम लोग सपने में देखते हैं, ठीक है, डे ड्रीमिंग हो कि रात को सोते सोते हो, अनकॉन्शियस मेंटल लाइफ में हम लोग जो देखते हैं, those are called fantasies. These are immature at times or at times silly feelings. But mind it, they leave traces in our mind without our control. They leave traces in our mind, and these traces do not easily fade. Okay? These happen to be deep drivers of our subjective thoughts and our behavior. Okay? So an individual remains, unaware of such unrecognized emotions, which are highly powerful and exert a direct influence on our conscious behavior. ठीक है. सो ये टर्म समझ के रखिए. फैंटेसीज मतलब जो अंदर का हम लोगों का फीलिंग है, विच मे बी इमेच्योर, विच मे बी सिली, but deep drivers of our subjective thoughts called fantasies. We will use this term to explain some situations later on. So can I proceed? Can I proceed? Participants?
Yes, Professor.
ठीक है. Thank you. Next, I come to fantastic objects. Emotional finance emphasizes on the role of excitement and pleasurable feeling in financial decision making. So in fantasies we said, that is earlier we said that emotional finance theory बता रहा है excitement and anxiety go hand in hand. ठीक है. Now what are fantastic object? Fantastic object is that possession or right, in our accounting terminology, that asset that gives a feeling of omnipotence. मतलब मुझे a feeling of being great, having unlimited access, मतलब मुझे राजा बना देता है. ठीक है. Live life king size, I am the king, वो वाला feeling जो asset या जो देता है. Say for example, if I have the capacity to book a 5-star hotel suite, the moment when I check into that 5-star hotel suite, ठीक है, मेरे अंदर लगता है यस, अंदर से होता है ये. मैं आई मे नॉट शो दैट कि यस आई हैव अचीव्ड दैट इन लाइफ, आई कैन रीच, आई हैव रीच्ड दैट पोजीशन इन माय लाइफ कमिंग फ्रॉम माय बैकग्राउंड, व्हाटएवर इट मे बी. In that case, that 5-star hotel suite is my fantastic object. Say for example, I come from a very poor family who couldn't even, my parents couldn't even, this is an example, couldn't even afford a square meal, whereas now I am riding a sedan or a SUV. Okay? In that case, that SUV becomes the fantastic object. In financial markets, say for example, when you invest in stocks and that stocks become blue chips, they are very highly valued in the long run, those stocks become the fantastic object. Okay? So something that gives you a feeling of being great, okay, having unlimited access, are the fantastic objects. Okay? This type of possession fulfills an individual's innermost wish, and it happens to be precisely what one wants to have. Okay? And it changes with time, obviously. An investment which has turned from being a fantastic object at first to a failure. Why? Because it has failed to generate the expected returns. Again, I'm saying don't only think of stocks or mutual fund units or shares and debentures. Okay? So fantastic object can be anything. वो पहले मुझे बहुत आशा दिखाया, omnipotence में लेके गया, gave me the feeling of being a king or a queen. But ultimately, it has failed to deliver. It may result in causing frustration, anger, stress, hatred, and ultimately blame. Okay? This is the concept of the building block of fantastic objects. Clear? So I have discussed 2 building blocks, फैंटेसीज, अंदर का जो फीलिंग है ड्रीम से जो आता है, एंड फैंटास्टिक ऑब्जेक्ट्स इज दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग which gives me a feeling of omnipotence. Now the third building block, states of mind. ठीक है? Now all emotional relationship generate ambivalent feelings, both pleasurable and unpleasurable. We said that. Now our mind functions in two ways. Some of us operate, or sometimes all of us operate in a split set of mind, and sometimes in an integrated set of mind. You will see it happens with me personally. I can say that when we present our viewpoint, we operate in a split set of mind. Say for example, I want to go on a particular vacation and I am placing this in front of my family members in today's dinner table. Then I will always say what is good about that vacation idea. Okay, what will be the benefits of that? Instead, I will subdue in my brain, I will resist in my brain the coming of the challenges, the costs, and every other thing. In that case, it is said that I am operating in a split state of mind. That is, an individual identifies only the exciting and the good news or events and avoids or ignores the unpleasurable feelings. Is it clear? That cause mental agony arising from it. हम लोग दो हिस्से करके दिमाग का फिर सोचते हैं. But you will see, if I place something in front of you, when you are receiving, you are a family member, you are sitting on the dinner table, I say we will go on a यूरोप टूर कमिंग क्रिसमस. ठीक है, आई एम प्लानिंग, ये होगा, ये मिलेगा, वो मिलेगा, दिस विल बी आवर बेनिफिट्स, दिस विल बी द एक्साइटमेंट्स एक्सेट्रा. बट तब आप देखना, ऑलवेज यू विल काउंटर एक्ट. एनीबडी विल काउंटर एक्ट एंड से बट उसमें ये होने वाला है. they will point out, I won't say the negatives, but the true stories. ठीक है, we will say that in that case you are acting in an integrated state of mind. That is, you are aware of both the good qualities and the bad qualities of that decision. ठीक है? While in us, one is in a split state of or a divided state of mind, तब हम लोग fantastic object के ऊपर focus करते हैं and expect only positive state of mind. Whereas in an integrated state of mind, we focus on both the good and bad qualities. So participants, please come back to the chat box once again and just write. Which one do you feel we should focus on? The split state of mind or the integrated state of mind? Which is the ideal situation for us to take decision? Please respond. I am focusing on the chat box. Integrated. So morning shows the day. All of you are rational with this respect, for this understanding. So with regard to this, we can say that ideally we should operate in integrated state of mind. क्या करना नहीं चाहिए? Split state of mind होना नहीं चाहिए. Again, a building block. So dear participants, 3 building blocks have been done: fantasies, fantastic objects, and states of mind. Now the final one before we jump into the water. The final is called the basic assumption group. This concept comes from Freud and beyond. Okay? They say that we individuals belong to 2 broad types of groups. Called it, they named it work groups and basic assumption group. Who forms the work group? But are members working together creatively to achieve a goal and use all available information adequately and in the best possible manner by evaluating both positive and negative aspects. ठीक है? अगर उस तरह से कुछ करता है, then that is a work group. But what is a basic assumption group? In such a group, we will call it a bag, BAG. In a bag, members tend to generate pleasurable and good feelings only by unconsciously ignoring and building defenses against any information which develop anxiety. Okay? So bag tend to escape reality, see only the positive side. It disregards the actual facts. Information is evaluated in a divided and split set of mind, and any negative aspect is shed off. Okay? Acha, dear friends, can I say, in most cases, the entrepreneurs who are not formally trained in entrepreneurship development and entrepreneurship management belong to this bag, basic assumption group. Can I say yes or a no? A response? ठीक है, when those few college graduates or university graduates come together, they start daydreaming. Their fantastic object is their business, ठीक है, or their venture, ठीक है. They ignore the negative side of it. If they are not prepared with a business plan, if they had not done a feasibility study, if they had not done a market research, क्या होने वाला है, ठीक है. फंडिंग अगर कुछ दिन के लिए होगा, अगर रिटर्न नहीं आया तो क्या होने वाला है. They disregard that side. So can I say most of us belong to the bags? Yes or no? ठीक है. So an unconscious wishful thinking overrules any probable unpleasant results, and this kind of a group thing prevails. So the bag, basic assumption group, basically falls into the trap of group think. मतलब एक जो herding behavior, herding is the behavior which results in group thinking, ठीक है. So they are related. So group think prevails, which at times take the form of herding. Now, over here also there are members who try to challenge the group's underlying belief or think differently, and they are excluded from the group. There is existence of unconscious fantasy in the bag. And dear participants, let me tell you, the financial markets have been observed to be a bag. ठीक है? That is why we observe herding. कोई बता दिया आपको ये वाला स्टॉक बढ़ने वाला है, बस बढ़ते ही जाता है, बढ़ते ही जाता है, बढ़ते ही जाता है, बबल क्रिएट होता है, फॉल. ठीक है. With this 4 building blocks, now I will discuss some applications of emotional finance in the real world. Some things happened in the real world जो emotional finance explains better. ठीक है. Can I proceed? Madam, sir, please say a yes or no. Till this, most of you are with me. Can I start discussing the applications?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Acha, first, what does this application of the building blocks or emotional finance broadly help in? First is better understanding of risk involved in any investment. We know every investment involves risk and uncertainty, and we being finance people, we know risk and uncertainty are not the same thing. Risk is something, it arises from something which is known, which is quantitative in nature, which is objective and measurable, whereas uncertainty is unknown, unidentifiable and immeasurable. Okay? Suffering from dengue, malaria is a risk, gives us a risk. Okay? Whereas this COVID-19 was made us uncertain last year. Okay? So in traditional investment literature, measures risk using quantitative measures, which we know, using standard deviation, variance, beta, etc. Okay? But uncertainty gets ignored. Okay? Ignored why? Because we don't use that part of the brain. Anxiety को ignore करते हैं, जो देखे हम लोग. Emotional finance helps the market participants understand the holistic picture by including the uncertainty. Okay? Because emotional finance suggests an integrated state of mind, okay, in which an investor will recognize the uncertainty associated with the investment. Whereas in rational decision making under a split state of mind, the unpleasurable feelings associated were suppressed or denied, which was done by the basic assumption group, the bag in the that is the financial market participants. Majority without training, our brain did that. But with training, with awareness of emotional finance, what is the training? What is the take home from this session? That our decisions should be made from an integrated state of mind. That will give us the chance to think, that will make us to think about the uncertainty and will give us the holistic picture. Okay? So as per EF, the risk measurement models can be viewed as, so risk measurement models developed under the domain of EF should be viewed as unconscious pseudo defenses against uncertainty, which is the real problem item. Okay? So thus EF focuses on uncertainty, which is the original source of anxiety and not risk. Okay? But in traditional finance, recall we were said risk लेने से तब return आता है, but it is uncertainty which has to be addressed, which has been made which has been solidified by EF. Okay. Second is understanding the trust factor of investment. Investment implies commitment and trusting an asset. Yes or no? If I invest in a car, I trust the manufacturer of that company and that particular model. If I invest in a stock, I trust the management of that company, the board of directors of that company. Okay? I invest in a real estate, I trust the developer of that real estate. Okay? So everything, investment implies commitment and trust. Trust, and it is the trust which links us between the present and the future. Okay? And helps alleviate the anxiety and helps create the desired future outcome. So if we have trust, that leads to creation of the fantastic objects. In the financial markets, which is a bag, reality testing is avoided and groupthink persists. I have discussed this. In a bag, reality testing हम लोग नहीं करते हैं. हम लोग, because financial markets are a basic assumption group, the market participants form a basic assumption group, the group think persists, herding behavior persists. सर कौन बता रहा है? Studies बता रहे हैं. ठीक है? It is generally believed that investing in companies having good quality management team leads to superior returns. Corporate governance studies show that corporate governance and firm value, हजारों studies है, लाखों studies है. Those studies mostly come to the conclusion the quality of the management team, the quality of corporate governance, ठीक है, will it is better to invest in such companies. But EF provides the different views and argues that good quality of company's management team is only a way to suppress anxiety associated with the investment. You need to do fundamental analysis. You need to do other forms of analysis. Fund managers, it is not possible for retail investors like you and me, but fund managers, the fund managers of the FIIs, of the mutual funds, of the hedge funds, they can surely meet and engage with the senior management of the companies, that is the issuer of securities or the government, to build trust and resolve the anxiety inherent in the process. ठीक है? So ये trust factor के ऊपर build up करना, ये भी solidify कर रहा है emotional finance. So it adds a new dimension, it adds a new application for the fund managers, for the wealth managers, ठीक है? For the portfolio managers, for the I would say advisors, financial advisors. ठीक है? Now let us see how emotional finance can affect or explain some non-rational behaviors which we observe in the market. Now it is seen that slow market reacts slowly to negative events. If you see the NSE figures in the recent past, which was shown by one resource person yesterday, ठीक है? BSE NSE figure देखिए, COVID चल रहा है, economy is in turmoil, ठीक है? फिर भी it is rising. Herding behavior हो रहा है. कल शायद Dr. Amlan Ghosh was showing that, or Dr. Amlan Ghosh was showing something like that. ठीक है? So that is something which we have in our hands. ये क्या, ये एक actual life में भी आप देखना, कुछ negative event हो, आप थोड़ा slowly react करते हो. ठीक है? So market reaction to negative events such as change in bond rating, qualified audit reports, declaration of corporate bankruptcy has been observed to be pretty slow and gradual. What is the explanation to this phenomena? As provided by behavioral finance, it is the limits to arbitrage theory. Arbitraging is something which we know. So this theory says that the market participants, especially the bigger players like the fund managers and all these things, because of the market regulators' rules and regulations, cannot practice arbitrage as and when needed. As a result, that is the inherent limitation of operating in the market, and that limits my arbitrage opportunity. इसीलिए I am not in a position to react. So my reaction is slow and gradual. But EF provides a very interesting explanation. Just look how it is. It says financial market is a basic assumption group where the tendency of splitting between good and bad persists. ठीक है? In this split state of mind, people apply a range of unconscious defenses. ठीक है? Sorry, it's a typo. People fail to apply the defenses. ठीक है? क्या हो जाता है? Reality takes time to set in, leading to delay in response to the bad news. Because we put the bad news under the carpet, ठीक है? Reality takes time to set in. While good news, being exciting, evoke emotions and excitement, and we look forward to such good news, and we respond spontaneously and take immediate reaction to such good news. And this is how emotional finance, using its building blocks, explains this phenomena of slow market reaction to negative events. ठीक है? Now can I give a personal example? ठीक है, प्यार का एग्जाम्पल बता रहा हूं. सर्च लीजिए, इसमें क्या होता है? When you get positive signals from the opposite gender, not you get, we got, ठीक है, those of who were engaged in a love relationship, we jumped into the conclusion pretty faster, or we accepted it. When somebody said a yes, I immediately jumped and said yes, he or she has accepted my proposal. But when somebody said a no, we persisted. No, she might be playing with me, she might be testing me. Are you sure that you are saying a no? ठीक है. So our reactions to negative events are always slow because we are from within optimistic with regard to this. ठीक है. And not optimistic, I would say. We operate in a split state of mind and anxiety को under the carpet push कर देते हैं. ठीक है. ये जो theory emotional finance propose किया है, this theory is basically explaining this kind of a non-rational behavior. ठीक है. Another behavior, another example is individual failing to save sufficiently for retirement. ठीक है. EF provides an interesting perspective, again using this same phenomena of state of mind and bag and everything. Everybody has anxieties associated with retirement, like ill health, disability, old age, etc. Most individuals applying the split state of mind have a tendency to suppress the possible experiences, and this causes inaction on our part. आज का देखा जाए, future देखा जाएगा. In subsequently inadequate retirement savings. Logically, retirement savings related decisions should be made in an integrated state of mind where panic is properly acknowledged and not avoided. ठीक है? Basically, in our field, we can say that people in the current generation are showing more tendency towards the lucrative corporate jobs, which are flashy, which are giving high salaries and perks at the beginning of their career rather than the slow, steady moving jobs. ठीक है? So this is another non-rational behavior, another typical example which can be explained using the building blocks and the theory proposed by emotional finance. Now, I will conclude by giving you some real world situations, stories of the recent past. ठीक है? Fund managers dealing with their clients. You invest with through a fund manager, and say, for example, that particular mutual fund has failed to deliver, or a hedge fund has failed to deliver. You will find, just have the background, fund managers are expected to deliver superior returns on a consistent basis. ठीक है? You are an expert, तो मुझे आपको deliver करना है, and they show such a rosier picture in their advertisements that clients have unrealistic assumptions from them. Fund managers deal with such ambivalence by telling stories. ठीक है? Because people generally believe stories. We love to see the we have fantasies, and we love the stories create fantastic objects in our mind. They have the power to make, the stories have the power to make us believe impossible things possible, unexpected matters expected, uncontrollable situations coming within controllable situations. So stories are essentials for fund managers, and they need the stories to convince the people, that is the investors. When the investments recommended by the fund managers turn out to be successful, the fund managers narrate it in an epic mode. I did this, I did that, etc., and portray themselves as heroes or heroines. Whereas when the investments recommended by them turn out to be unsuccessful, they build a tragic story, project themselves as victims, create emotions of pity. मतलब क्या बता रहा है? Macroeconomics factors के लिए हो गया. This is something which is beyond my control. That is the systematic risk which caused it. ठीक है? So they try to survive through pity and grief. Emotional finance proposes that market is driven by the managers to portray or narrate a creditable and better story rather than perception about the asset valuation. So we should have fund managers को story बताने दीजिए. उनका काम ही है ये बताना. They are sellers of the fantastic objects, if we may say. But we should have an integrated state of mind. We should be deciding in an integrated state of mind and not fall for the stories. ठीक है? Occurrence of the asset pricing bubbles. A bubble starts with a feeling of euphoria when an investment looks like a fantastic object. But reality cannot be denied. Ultimately, a bubble collapses and the euphoria associated with it turns into a panic. Whenever a financial market experiences a bubble, or an associated crisis. Terms such as you will see in the newspapers, in the other forms of financial media, the financial web pages, blogs, terms as excited, euphoric, exuberant, followed by panic, anxious, depressed, blame surface. Okay? Excuse me.
Dr. Mukherjee, excuse me, the time is almost
I know,
11:20. So if the
I know,
participants have any questions, okay,
I will do it. I know. Please.
okay.
Building blocks of emotional finance. That is.
I apologize for interfering into your lecture. I am sorry. I apologize for interfering into your
Let me
lecture.
continue and conclude it within time.
Yes,
the building
yes.
blocks of. So where I was, that in the market we observe asset pricing bubbles, but in reality the bubbles, like physical bubbles, they cannot remain forever and they collapse. So the building blocks of emotional finance, the fantasies, the fantastic objects, the split state of mind and the basic assumption group offer better explanation to these asset pricing models. ठीक है, किस तरीके से? Because it points to the fact that that particular asset is a fantastic object, ठीक है, and take decision using the integrated state of mind instead of the split state of mind. This can be seen in the recent past. Hedge funds in the US have collapsed. Okay? Why? Because hedge funds are subject to minimal regulations and can invest in risky assets, which are otherwise prohibited by mutual funds and insurance companies. Okay? These characteristics make the hedge funds fantastic objects for the investors. I'm sorry, that's a typo. From the investor's viewpoint. Okay? In a split state of mind, investors visualize only the exceptional returns from the hedge funds, do not recognizing the underlying risk, which gets denied or repressed, leads to the emergence of basic assumption group again and group thinking on their behavior, herding behavior on their part. As it is undeniable that hedge funds will collapse, this euphoria turned into anger, resentment, blames, and accusations. Such situations can be avoided by involving an integrated state of mind where the risk is recognized and not denied. Again, the theory proposed by emotional finance. And finally, the subprime crisis of the US, where the housing real estate problem arose. That underlying cause of subprime crisis is indeed challenging to identify. I accept that fact. But it is generally, the media, the studies attribute it to greed and hubris, that is excessive pride and self-confidence on the part of the decision makers. The domain of emotional finance attributes it to the role of unconscious feeling. Real estate were made to look promising to the public at large. And for the investors, they became fantastic objects. In a split state of mind of the basic assumption group where the look, in the note it is written. In addition to the investors, it included the investment bankers, the government, the central bank, the market regulators, along with the market participants. So the basic assumption group operated in a split set of mind and group thinking set in and herding behavior followed. As all collectively believed there could be no downside risk, this led to excitement and extremely poor borrowing and lending practices. Like loans were given by the banks even without documentation. Within a day, loans were sanctioned. So this excitement from the fantastic object of the real estate was kept conscious, while the anxiety that was getting generated by the probability of a potential fall in real estate value was subdued and repressed. However, reality did not remain suppressed forever, and housing prices started plunging down, and the bubble burst, and the trigger being the collapse of the Lehman Brothers in August 2008. With reality emerging, there was extensive search for scapegoats, and end result was government bailouts, bankruptcies of the major financial institutions, panic, and everyone blaming every other person. This situation could have been avoided by involving an integrated state of mind where the chance of fall in real estate value should have been recognized and denied. Okay? So with this, I come to the conclusion of my presentation that when the underlying unconscious emotions are understood properly, So first, emotions need to be understood, focused upon. Emotional biases should be made aware to all. And when they are understood properly and adequately, they lead to better understanding of investment behavior in a more holistic and complete manner. The insights of emotional finance provide ways and means to eradicate the happening of future financial crises and asset bubbles. For this, all stakeholders, including the market regulators, government, as well as investors, need to accept the paranoid state of mind. That is not the split state of mind, but an integrated state of mind where reality is not denied and repressed, and also getting uncertainty duly recognized is the need of the hour for efficient and smooth functioning of the financial markets. Thank you, participants. That is what my presentation with regard to emotional bias and emotional finance was. Okay, now we have close to 5 minutes. So, participants, please, I want to listen to you. Any questions from the participants?
This emotional bias, what we call, it is applicable only for financial decisions, or it could be for anything, right? Even for a business decision?
Exactly, sir. A personal decision. Take the personal decisions. We are overconfident so many times. Okay. As I said, even in a love affair, this is applicable. Okay. A guy may be very overconfident, or a girl may be overconfident of his or her looks or beauty or whatever it may be. Okay. So overconfidence bias may creep in. He or she may say, for example, a guy may propose a girl and get rejected at the very first instant. In that case, what will happen? He will be shy to make another proposal. So regret aversion bias may be there. So I'm just giving casual examples in this case. So, sir, any kind of business, as I said, investment does not mean only the stock investments or the derivative investments.
Okay.
It can be applicable for even a car that you are buying. Many times what we see, we go beyond that is a phenomena which is observed in the younger generation nowadays. Our parents are very much aware of these things. We are aware of these things through their experiences. That go slow. Don't buy everything right with your very first salary or first year salary.
Yeah.
So that is basically where we are perhaps committing some sort of, we are exhibiting some sort of emotional biases. And I guess if these are made aware to everybody, then we will become more careful. ठीक है, दिमाग का बत्ती जला देना चाहिए, मतलब स्विच दे देना चाहिए. फॉर मी मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इज, फॉर मी द सेशन इज कि आपको ये स्विच में दे दिया, आप अब जलाओगे कब, ऑफ करोगे कब, ये आपके ऊपर है. बट अगर आपको मैं स्विच ही नहीं दिया तो आप तो लाइट का कोई फायदा नहीं कर पाओगे ना. दिमाग का बत्ती जलाने का स्विच आप लोगों को दे देना वाज माय इंटेंशन इन दिस. ओके.
Sir, one small question.
Yes, I am. Go ahead.
Sir, my question is, do you think this both cognitive bias and emotional biases are to some extent inherited from the fathers, mother, parents, and do you think this is inherited to some extent?
Motherboard तो manufacturer ही देता है, ठीक है, but depends on how much, depends on my capacity to install, ठीक है. So definitely depends on the motherboard, ठीक है, you cannot ignore that. But again, from my personal opinion, what I can say, the environment where I operate, where I am born and brought up with, ठीक है, मतलब which was, if you refer to the story of Abhimanyu in Mahabharata, ठीक है, when Subhadra was pregnant with Abhimanyu, at that point of time, Arjun was talking about how to enter the Chakravyuh, ठीक है, and that basically seeped into him. So you are, to some extent, definitely. But I would say with the environment where we grew, our schooling not with the academic part of it, the peers whom we rub shoulders with, our colleagues, the friends whom we choose, we at personal level have the choice to choose our friends, our colleagues whom we will follow, the role models whom we follow. Those all play a role in building up our ultimate, what should I say, the CPU. ठीक है. So that basically helps us to build up our defenses, our adaptations, our moderations towards the biases. And for me, most important is to be aware of the biases. For me, the behavioral finance course should be introduced at the finance level for in most universities or institutions as it is getting introduced, because of this, so that the students who pass through our portal are aware of the biases. Then let them explore all these things.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. It was an excellent session, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I see a question from Ms. Sonal Ahuja that, sir, is this an exhaustive list of emotional biases in decision making? No, ma'am. Okay. We never know which is exhaustive. Emotion अंदर ऐसा है, ठीक है. मतलब आप शायद सोशल मीडिया में देखे हो, somebody says कि what is the size of a book if we want to that's a joke, that if we want to understand our wife, what is the size of the book. So that is basically what I take the clue from, that हम लोगों के मन के अंदर कब क्या चल रहा है, we hardly know. सबके ऊपर रिसर्च होगा तभी ये पता चलेगा कि क्या होने वाला है और क्या हो सकता है. But it can never be exhaustive. It is impossible to be exhaustive, madam. ठीक है. So we behave in different situations in different ways. In this, you say na, executives are working in work from home mode. ठीक है. Most of us are wearing our shorts, ठीक है, and taking classes, or we are wearing our home dresses and delivering lectures or attending executive meetings. ठीक है. इन दिस सिचुएशन, ये कोविड सिचुएशन में हम लोगों का तो एक नया ब्रेन का साइड ओपन अप हो गया. तो इससे क्या बायस रिफ्लेक्ट हो सकता है, वो तो फ्यूचर स्टडीज ही एक्सप्लॉइट करेगा, एंड एक्सपर्ट्स कैन ओनली नेम दोस बायसेस. That is what my take on this. Your question is, Sonal madam. So it is 11:32 now. Dr. Bandyopadhyay, as you were saying, we are just 2 minutes beyond our scheduled time.
No, it was a very wonderful session, and this subject is very new to me, and I have also learned a lot.
Thank you. It's an achievement on my part to make something learned to learned audiences like you all. It was a big challenge for me. Okay, ma'am, now the platform is yours. We need to close this session because we have a session.
Yes, it was a very wonderful lecture, Dr. Mukherjee. It was a very wonderful lecture. I don't have any language to express, because to me the subject is completely new, and to all the participants, I think they have learned a lot, and they have highly appreciated. Someone articulated their appreciation. So it's undoubtedly, it's beyond doubt that your session is very excellent. It was very excellent. And thank you so much for delivering such a wonderful lecture.
It's my pleasure to be a part of this platform as a guest.
Now, yes. And now we proceed to the next lecture. I think at 11:30 it was there, but can we take some 15 minutes break? I think we should take a 15 minutes break.
We will have to end this meeting. Yeah, we will have to end this meeting, and we will start just at 11.
At 11. Yes, at 11:40.
Yeah.
Yes. So at 11:40 we will come back again and start the next session. Today's last session, last academic session. So please join that session.